about making that decision. And it really was driven by my children, to be able to give them the life and be rooted in one place and grow up in one place. Because I easily could have gone and pursued another corporate media job.
Ah, come on. Ask us anything. Well, about podcasting. But we are pretty smart women, so you could ask us anything. I mean, Danny was a digital nomad. Julie Fry is an expert on guesting and getting people on podcasts, especially authors and coaches. Well, there's me. I worked in radio. I've written a book. I raised 3 kids on my own. I'm a grandma. Oh, and I ran a day center for homeless women for several years. I think we might have some answers for you. Maybe. I dare you. Ask us anything. Register below.
Has your life, your dreams been interrupted? Good news. It is possible to reinvent our lives. People are doing it every day, and some are brave enough to share the struggles, disappointments, and challenges. If you are looking for a new beginning, a do-over, or to rediscover your passion, maybe even find a new one, then grab a cup of coffee and let's talk. Interrupted, Act 2, Reinventing Your Legacy, with your host, Coach Lori.
Lori Asbury is the owner and CEO of a full-service ad agency, CMO Co. Lori, welcome.
Thank you. It's so great to be here. People do have a hard time actually pronouncing it. It's so funny. I think in hindsight, should I have named it differently? Because people want to say Komoko or Samoko, or it's CMOCO. CMOCO, as in Chief Marketing Officer Company.
Tell us about what you do and what you love about it.
So we're a full service marketing and advertising agency. We're based in Knoxville, Tennessee, but we serve clients not only here in the Southeast, but all over the country. And actually, we've had international clients as well. We really, I think, are differentiated from most advertising agencies in a sense that we really start with high level strategy first out of the gate when we work with a client. So we don't like to just jump right into campaigns, because we think campaigns are really more tactically driven, and that's a good thing. And we do that too. We do great creative and great ad campaigns, but we really start with strategy first and foremost, right out of the gate. So we really want to understand an organization, where it is at a point in time and what their goals are, who their target customers are, what the lowest hanging fruit is in terms of driving their sales, and how we reach their customers where they are and drive them through the sales funnel. And that's going to lead to a lot of tactical recommendations on the advertising side, advertising and marketing side. But first and foremost, we start with strategy. And so I think that really differentiates us from most traditional ad agencies who like to jump straight to the execution or straight to the campaign, and like to put a lot of things out there and see what sticks. So I think for us, that just enables us to really all be on the same page with the client, but also to know that everything that we're doing is really rooted in something thoughtful. It's rooted in strategy, it's rooted in data, it's rooted in really understanding our client, where they are in their competitive landscape, and making sure that, the marketing and advertising activities that we're recommending will be effective, but also, most importantly, will have the highest return on their investment as possible.
And what is it that you love about what you do? Like, you worked in media, then you started your own company.
Yeah, I love everything. To be honest, I have so much fun every day, just because every client is so different. Obviously, there's headaches of running any kind of business, the administrative stuff, and then obviously just, managing a team of employees, trying to balance personalities and relationships and all that kind of stuff is challenging. But I really do take a lot of joy out of it. I see a lot of people grow in their careers, but I think really what I love the most is just really getting to partner with some really bright people and actually work with companies in some really interesting spaces that I would never even know some of these things existed. It's like really so unique businesses, from science companies to hair salons to composite manufacturing to healthcare to software as a service and everything in between. So that's what keeps it really interesting and really exciting. We do have, some certain sectors that we have a lot of experience in, but we're very diverse. Our client portfolio is very diverse, and that's what keeps it super exciting.
Awesome. What's been kind of the most surprising company you've got to work with that maybe you thought was one thing and turned out to be another?
Yeah. Actually, it's a current client, and it's been really kind of fun, and we're having a lot of fun with them. And I think it's new for them too to work with an agency, and they, being as smart as they are, kind of realized that they were at a point in time with their business that they needed to engage an agency. But they're a science company. They manufacture and make microscopes for nanoscience research. we were super blessed because a big portion of the work that they do and that their products are out at Oak Ridge National Lab being used for a lot of really like quantum research, really deep nanoscience research. And we were able to tour the labs and speak with people out there. And it was so fascinating. And of course, I couldn't even walk away and tell you what half the stuff I saw. Like, it's just so amazing. But they don't know advertising. So I'm like, okay, well, they may be really smart in science, but it was really fascinating. And we've just learned so much and working with them. And there's a learning curve for sure, but it's been a lot of fun.
Well, Lori, you've had not one, but
Yeah.
two big interruptions. You want to tell us about those?
For sure. So, I mean, obviously, I think everyone has a journey. Two of my biggest interruptions, well, we'll just start with the first one, was when I went through an unexpected divorce. And 18 years ago, I think maybe 19 years ago now, went through a very unexpected divorce, which required a lot of soul searching, but also I wasn't working at the time. I had taken some time off to have my daughter. My daughter was only 5 months old at the time. My son was 3. And so they were very young. I had a long career in media, working in major media companies prior to taking some time off. I worked for CBS and I worked for Fox television stations and had a really great career in media, but had taken some time off to have my daughter right before the divorce, actually, but I had reached out to a gentleman that I had worked with back in my day of media at CBS, and he was running Scripps Networks, which also owns HGTV. Scripps has since been bought, but back when 14 years ago or 18 years ago, I had reached out to him and said, hey, I'm just down in Atlanta. Scripps was based in Knoxville, Tennessee. I said, I haven't worked for a year, but I would love some freelance work if you have any opportunities for that. And he said, well, I'm not sure if we have anything like that. And I said, okay. I said, well, let's just stay in touch. And then literally a couple days later, my ex-husband, we just started to go through our divorce, and not to get into all the details of that, but just started to go through our divorce, and just very unexpectedly. And so I reached back out to this gentleman and I said, well, do you have any full-time opportunities? And he said, well, yeah, actually we might have a full-time opportunity. We have an on-air marketing team and an off-air marketing team, and they kind of do 2 separate campaigns for the same show. And we need a creative to come in and kind of really manage everything together. And we're going to restructure the department. We think you'd be great for it. Will you talk to us? And I'm like, I will be there, because I had 2 little kids and I didn't really know what the future was going to hold at the time. And I just felt like I needed to get back into the game. And also doing that gave me the opportunity to kind of carve my own destiny too, to not maybe stay in a situation that was so great for me. Came down to Knoxville from Atlanta, came up and interviewed, took about a month, had to fly to New York to meet several people and everything, but I did end up getting the job. I relocated to Knoxville from Atlanta with both my young children and started heading up marketing, creative, and brand strategy for HGTV at that time. So that was a huge life interrupter for sure. It was a lot to take on. You're moving, which is all stressful, going through a divorce, which is incredibly stressful, and then starting a new job, a big job. I had 50 people in my group. I mean, a large group, a large ad budget to manage, going into a brand new workplace. Lots of stress. That was a lot of stress at that time, but I'm a woman of faith and God had a plan. And I think God opened the door for me at that time and put me right where I needed to be. And it ultimately opened the door to Knoxville, which actually is a really great place to raise a family. So it was just kind of the stars aligned, but it wasn't an easy time. And it certainly was a huge interruption in my life for sure.
Definitely. And having 2 little kids. And
yeah,
the thing I always hear as a single mom, and I hear single moms say it, when you're away, you feel like you should be home. When you're home, you feel like you should be trying to make more money.
Right. No, it's so true. And it's so funny because people would say to me, yeah, but you haven't, because I did have a nanny. I did hire somebody to come into the home because they were so little. I didn't really have an option other than just standard daycare. I did put them into like preschool when they were old enough to go into preschool. And I was blessed that I had a good enough job that could afford a nanny and so forth. But everyone was like, yeah, but you have a nanny. I'm like, listen, she walks in the door when I walk out. And when I walk in, she walks out. So it's not like I have help on my hands. And honestly, there are times, Lori, honestly, I remember my daughter got really sick. She had like 105-degree fever. This is right after I moved to Knoxville. I wasn't really familiar with Knoxville. Children's Hospital was downtown. I lived on the west side of town. It was the middle of the night. And I remember having to wake my son up and get him up and my daughter and drive down to the hospital by myself. I didn't know where I was. And it's a lot. So I always have a lot of empathy for single moms for sure. But just day by day, step by step, you kind of get through it. And yeah, they're off to college now. My kids are both in college and my son's a senior. My daughter's a sophomore. So we're almost, I would say, light at the end of the tunnel, right?
Yeah.
Not that you ever stop being a mom, but you know what I'm saying.
That's the
Yeah.
truth.
Yeah.
But you look back and you go, how did I do that?
Right. Oh, I know. Seriously, there are so many times I've got, I don't know how I ever managed it all. I mean, for sure. It's crazy, but somehow you do.
And it sounds like as a single mom, your intention was to do what was right for your family. And
Yeah.
we always hear people that have to work 2 or 3 jobs and then they're never home with their kids and they hate that, but they have to support themselves. And I always wanted to raise my kids and
Right.
balancing. I don't even think balancing is the right word, but being able to work and be a mom took a lot of finagling and a lot of sacrificing that people don't see or notice, but we would do anything for our kids.
No, 100%. And when I wasn't working, I missed that, but I loved being with my kids. It was a brief time. So I was like, basically like maybe, I don't know, 16 or 18 months that I wasn't working, but I did miss like the adult stimulation. So I started doing some projects with the church and helping my church with some things and so forth, just to kind of have that interaction. But I'm a huge believer. Like I have the utmost respect for stay-at-home moms. They have the hardest job in the world. Nothing is harder than that. I value that. And I also value women who work. So, I think you have to pick what's best for you. I always loved working. I think I'm sure that had my kids, had I not gone through the divorce, ultimately, I probably would have done some sort of work just because I enjoy that. And I think it made me a better mom, but that's a personal thing. Like me working made me a better mother, but it's not necessarily for everybody, right? Like some people are just destined and really meant to be stay-at-home moms and they're phenomenal at it. And you do what you need to do for your kids and also try to find balance for yourself as well.
When I was a single mom was so long ago, there was kind of this, if you're
like a stigma.
Person of faith, you've got to stay home.
Oh yeah.
And then the people that work were like, they felt bad. And there was conflict between women of, oh, you're a stay-home mom. Oh, you're a working mom. And I think that is better now. I think there's
right.
More acceptance of the working.
Sure. And more support too, probably, right?
Yes. Okay. So you are the single mom, you've got this great big job. And then what happened?
Well, then what happens is, and here's the interruption number 2, right? Then I lose my job. The company has a reorganization. They're realigning the brands and changing corporate structure. And I lose my job. So I have to kind of at that point, really, really do some soul searching because I do have young kids and I've lived prior to working at HGTV, I had lived in, including HGTV and moving to Knoxville, I'd lived in 9 cities. Okay. So I'd moved a lot because that's what media requires. You kind of, the way you move up the chain is you kind of go from larger market, from one market to a bigger market to a bigger market. I had lived in all these different cities and it was an awesome experience, but I was single and I didn't have kids. And I knew that now I had children and I could continue on that path, stay in corporate media. And certainly I would have been able to find a job just because I had a long history and experience in that. But I knew that more than likely, especially at the senior level that I was at, that you only keep a job for 4 or 5 years. It's just kind of the nature of the beast. I knew that I really needed to really do some soul searching, one, to see if that was something that I really wanted to continue to pursue, but also, would that be the best life for my kids? It was also going to require probably moving to one of the coasts, New York or LA, maybe DC, but usually major media companies are on the coasts. And I didn't really want to take my kids that far away from their father. I mean, he was going to be in Atlanta and I wanted them to have a relationship with him. And that's incredibly important. And I don't diminish that in the least. And so I wanted them to maintain their relationship with him and just have close proximity because we would have being in 2 different states wasn't the greatest, right? But at least we were close enough, 3 hours apart. He could visit here and the kids could go there. And so that was really important to me. But I really also wanted my kids to be rooted somewhere and to grow up in one place. I had that opportunity with my upbringing. Again, I know a lot of military kids who have moved around. They're phenomenal people. So again, no judgment on anything. Not one's better than the other, but it was just what I was familiar with. And Knoxville really felt like it had the same values, like the people here had the same values that I was raised with. It just, the quality of life here is so affordable. It's so great. There's so many great schools and there's great activities, and it's a university town. So you have that aspect of it as well. And so I just felt like this was a great place to raise my children. I just made the purposeful decision that somehow, some way I was going to make it work in Knoxville. So I did start interviewing with some other companies, not media companies, but other organizations in marketing and advertising. And I did get some really good interviews just because of my background, but a lot of people just didn't have a job opening at that time. And a gentleman that I knew through one of my employees at HGTV went through the executive MBA program at UT at Tennessee. And one of the gentlemen that ran that program was a Cornell grad. I got my MBA at Cornell. So she was like, you two need to meet and connect. So we had met. And so I had just reached out to him when I lost my job and said, hey, I lost my job. Would love to have coffee with you. Just pick your brain. Would love any kind of advice that you might be able to give me. And he ended up connecting me to a gentleman here in town that owned a web development and design company. And he was looking to create a full service marketing company. And he said, hey, do you want to start another company together? And you'll own half and he'll own the other half. And his company was going to be like my back end and my infrastructure of CMO Co. And so really it was so we went into partnership together. We launched the agency, and my job was really kind of getting the accounts and doing strategy and managing customer accounts and so forth. And then the execution would be largely handled by his other team. So I would be passing business through, if you will, to him. And then just as we started to grow, I was just passing through a lot of business and, not making as much money when I was passing it through to him. And so I just decided that it would be best for me to kind of build the infrastructure myself. I can make more money that way. And I eventually bought them out of the business in 2015 and took full ownership of the business then, and have been on my own since then. Started that agency really on a wing and a prayer. It was great being in partnership when I had the partnership, but again, it was just an evolution of the business. But sometimes I get down on myself because you want it to be further along than it is. But then I see like, gosh, only like 5% of all businesses make more than $1 million a year. We do that. So many businesses that start never make it. So we've been in business for 14 years. So count my blessings. And yeah, I've got a great staff. We've got great infrastructure. We're growing every day. But yeah, that was a big interrupter. It was definitely a big interrupter.
That was brave. That was a brave move you made.
Well, again, I will say just because not every single mom is in a position to be able to do that. So I do want to, I had a good career. So I had a good nest egg. When I left my corporate job, I got a decent severance package. So I did have the financial ability to be able to say, hey, let me try this. Because I always thought, well, if it doesn't work out, I can just get a job. But I really was purposeful about making that decision. And it really was really driven by my children, to be able to give them the life and be rooted in one place and grow up in one place. Because I easily could have gone and pursued another corporate media job. The other thing too, not to like diminish this in any way, was I felt like I could be way more in control of my own destiny. Like I control what happens to the company. And again, I can't control if a client fires us or hires us or that type of thing. I mean, obviously, if they fire us, I want to know why or, control that as much as I can. But sometimes you can't. But at least I felt like I believe in myself enough to make this work. And I'm going to put in whatever I have to put in to make this successful. And it's certainly better than being in a position where your fate is in the hands of a major media company that is dealing with stockholders and all these other things that are so out of your control. And they're churning through executives like crazy, and so many influencers shape the decisions they make, and you just get caught up in that grind. And I'm just like, it was such a great ride for so many years, but it was time for a change.
I love that. And being an entrepreneur it's a whole different ballgame, because like you say, yay, I've got my schedule, I do what I want, but also, I'm on my own.
You never stop working. So that's the thing, even though, and that's the one thing I will say, having the business has allowed me to be such a present parent, which is, I don't think I ever missed anything of my kids. My son played travel baseball, played football. My daughter was a competitive equestrian for many years. We traveled a lot with horse shows, went to do all that. I never missed anything. She also played soccer and played lacrosse. I was able to juggle that, but you're always on. When you're away from the office, you're still answering emails. You're not able to just say, I'm on the clock and then I'm off the clock. You're constantly working and always without fail. As soon as I was getting ready to go on vacation, I would get somebody reach out and say, can you please write us a proposal? And I mean, of course, what are you going to do? You're going to write a proposal. That would never fail. You have a lot more risk that you take on and a lot more responsibility. But at the end of the day, it's been so rewarding and it's just so cool to see something really grow and thrive.
I have a real heart for media, and then I also have a struggle with marketing because being an entrepreneur myself, here you're a marketing company and you have to market yourself, at least you know it. Being able to have your own business and then hand over the marketing to someone is so brilliant because we all don't know everything.
Right, exactly. And, kind of what we say is that we do that we think like, again, when we're out pitching or talking to a potential client is our sweet spot in terms of the customers that we work with are really anywhere from, I would say, $5 to $100 million range. Because generally companies over 100 million have internal marketing organizations. They'll have a CMO and then they'll have like a marketing infrastructure. But those companies from 5 million to 100 million are usually in high growth mode. They don't necessarily have that infrastructure or that strategic mindset in place. So they may have a marketing director or something like that, but they don't have really a senior level CMO. And so we can say, hey, we're going to come in and fill that void. We can work with your internal person, but we're going to bring a whole level higher expertise and then we can absolutely help support on the day in, day out delivery just because of the infrastructure that we bring. So it really does create a super awesome solution. And then what they would pay us on a monthly basis is going to end up being basically what they would pay one employee for the most part. And then we have all these ad tools, like we have over 20 digital ad products that we offer based on the client, based on what industry they're in that we leverage. We have, media buying, media planning and placement. So we can buy television, we can buy radio, we can buy print. And then we have this great creative team. So it's like, we just bring all this infrastructure that one internal marketing person would be outsourcing to all these different people and paying so much more money. It ends up being a really great solution for a lot of companies, especially in that sweet spot.
I love that. Yeah, you said it's a full service agency.
Yeah.
And I love that because, like you say, someone might, well, we do radio, well, we do TV, well, we do paper.
Yeah, so we do it all, but we're usually, obviously now we're very heavily into digital, just because that's the way people consume media now. It's not because we think it's great, it's because that's how people consume media. And what's so great about digital, though, is that you can measure it so effectively. You can stop and start it. You can really get super granular with who you're targeting. So your ad buys are so much more efficient than they used to be versus going and buying TV campaign. You could buy certain shows that have certain demographics, but you still are getting a lot of waste. I mean, we can get so hyper targeted now on behavioral, geographical, demographical, income. I mean, there's so many great targeting tools that we are able to leverage and attach to a digital campaign. Not to mention there's an AI component that's layered on top of it, and it's learning and learning and learning. So every time your digital is running, it's understanding who's engaging with your ads, and it's going and finding more people like that. You can't beat it. The industry has evolved. Our industry, my industry, advertising industry has evolved so much and so quickly. Too, as you know, it's like within the past 5 years, it's just transformed. We have to really stay on top of things, but it keeps it fun and interesting and absolutely really exciting for sure.
Yeah, I think that's where people get in trouble. Like, for instance, radio. We all know it's kind of going out the door, not totally. But if we didn't get on social media, if we didn't start showing our faces, which that was why we loved radio. We liked the anonymous aspect. Now we have to sit and do poses and we have to do YouTube videos. And for me, I do it because it's part of the job, but I don't love it. That's why I love podcasting.
Yeah.
But if we don't pivot, we get left behind.
That's exactly right. I mean, and that's the whole thing is how quickly are you to pivot and just kind of staying on top of it. And I'm always looking ahead. I'm trying to always think about what's next. How do I plan in advance? And it's a balancing act, right? Because you have to be able to know what infrastructure and resources you're going to need. And you want to make that investment. But at the same time, you're like, do I have the income to cover that investment? And what's the timing of that? And when do I need to staff up under a specific service that we provide or that type of thing? So it's always a balancing act for sure. It is a lot of fun and it's not easy. I mean, it's just not easy. You feel like sometimes you take 3 steps forward to take 5 steps back. I mean, you just do. It is constant It's constant grind, but you just got to keep your chin up, keep moving forward, and keep saying, I'm going to make it work. I'm going to make it work. I'm going to succeed. I'm going to succeed. And a lot of prayer, a lot of prayer.
Definitely. Everybody jokes about when you go to a new store or a Hobby Lobby or whatever, and Halloween's out midsummer. It's like that's advertising. We always have to think so far ahead. And
Yeah.
the station I used to be at was a Christmas station. So
Hmm.
we're gearing up in the summer, but people don't really understand that. But you have to be so ahead of the game.
You definitely do. You definitely do. And in fact, we're always like, we've been really with our clients now, and then just even in some of our own internal marketing or our external marketing, actually, like our lead gen, our agency's lead generation messaging is about 2026. It's not about right now. It's about, you need to be thinking about 2026 now, not only from a strategic standpoint, just to be able to get ahead on the strategy side, but also on the media buying side. Media starts to get booked, rates start to go up. So depending upon, what your strategy is going to be, you want to have that plan locked in place to start thinking that you're going to take a different approach in January to have results by the end of that year. You're behind. You really need to be out in front of it.
Yeah. So there's probably an education level for you with your clients to help them kind of get on board with that.
Yeah, 100%. And what the thing that's also interesting is that there's also a lot of education on just the digital landscape now, because it's sometimes people don't quite understand it, and they don't really understand that. A lot of people don't understand the difference of organic social media versus paid social media. We keep having to kind of explain that, like, yes, organic social media, you have to have it. People use social media as search engines now. Search engines also play a huge emphasis on having your business having active social signals, and that's how they go and scour the internet. That's how you rank and search. So you want to make sure that you've got active social signals, but it's also laborious to keep up that social media content every week. So it's an investment for sure. And sometimes you're not going to get a huge return on that investment just on the organic side, because only a percentage of the followers are actually going to see the content, because, and I get this, but Zuckerberg isn't going to let you build your business on his back for free, right? So, but it's a necessary, it's a necessity. You have to have the organic going, but then on the same token, it's like, well, what other paid advertising can we do that can be efficient, but that can help supplement that? So if you really want to get a lift out of your organic social, then it probably makes sense to do at least some sort of a paid meta campaign, because then when you're paying, then Zuckerberg's like, okay, they're paying a little bit. Now I'll serve their content a little bit more. So, and again, that's a business model. I get it. Explaining that and making people understand the difference between paid and organic, and how that all works, it is an education process. And then just again, like you said, the evolution of media has changed so much. So streaming, for example, streaming content has taken completely over. It's taken over cable, it's taken over broadcast, it's superseded all of that. So more people are streaming than ever before. And actually more people are streaming than broadcast and cable combined right now. How do you get into that space? And how does streaming now work as an ad play? The technology is evolving so quickly that there's not only getting on board with it, but also making sure that you educate your clients about it and why it's important or why it may not work or what have you. But it's flying really fast, that's for sure.
Well, this has been so great. And I love talking about media because it's necessary.
Yeah, it's so necessary. And here's the thing that's also like something that we have to address a lot when we're talking with our clients, or maybe when we're presenting a proposal, is it is an investment, right? Just even having a marketing agency or running an ad campaign. And we try to base everything again on the strategy side. We try to say what you should be investing in marketing should be a percentage of your income. And you should look at it as that. Let's be judicious about it. Let's be smart about it. But you should be investing a percentage of your income in marketing. And then you should be looking for a multiple on that. You should be looking for at least 3 to 4 return on that ad spend or on that investment. And if you get that growth, then you should say, okay, now I need to reinvest, right? And I need to add up the budget. And obviously, if all goes well, it becomes a cycle, and then it absolutely does pay off. But you can't expect to grow as a company if you're not going to get out there and you're not going to reach people that you haven't ever reached before, or by doing the same thing over and over again.
And consistency. That's the biggest thing. I teach podcasting and people do 10 episodes and go, well, I hardly have any followers. It's like, that's not what it's about. It's
Yeah.
getting out there, being seen. And then when your plumbing goes out and the little tune Beacon Plumbing comes into your mind, they won. That's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
win.
That's 100%. That's so true. In fact, so I went to work out at lunch today with my trainer, and she said this very same thing. She said when she sees somebody, or she said somebody had told her that when they see a fit person, they're like, they have a lot of respect for that person because of the consistency it takes in order to become a fit person. It's no different in business. You have to be consistent with everything in order to ultimately achieve success. Same with us. Like, I'm consistent with our lead generation activities. I'm consistent with the way we approach our clients and the work that we do and following up and that type of thing. It just takes a relentless amount of consistency in order to ultimately achieve success. But it does happen, but it's a process.
And you mentioned you're a woman of faith. And for
Mm-hmm.
me, daily connection has been so essential. We've gone through so much in our country and in
I
our
know.
families, and every day I am committed. And there's been times when I'm like, is this worth it to take for me? I'm taking like a half an hour to an hour. Is it worth it? And then I have to go, there is no price to put on it because it is the centering that I do every day, which allows me to do all the other things I do. But again, in our personal life consistency and our business life consistency.
100%. I actually start the morning, every single morning, reading the Bible. It grounds me. It sets the tone for my day. Obviously, it educates me, but it also gives me peace. And it allows me to really just kind of know that anything that's coming my way, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. I just have to face it and move on and know that there's a plan and a higher purpose, and put my faith in that and know that it's all going to work out. But I got to do my part, right? I got to do my part. I got to work and show up every day, and I got to do whatever I can do and take control of the things that I can control. Like you said, just be super, super consistent. But yeah, my faith is a huge guy. I mean, I think I would be like ruined if I didn't have my faith, but obviously it's a huge part in just everything I do.
There's times when people have said, how have you kept going? I'm like, my faith.
Yeah, no, exactly. I do have, by the way, I just want to mention, I do have a white paper that I want to throw out there that if anybody wants to go to my website and download, it's really called Raised by Resilience. And it's like about work and motherhood and just how to make everything happen. So if you just go to cmoco.com/resources, then you'll be taken to a page. You'll see the white paper there. So people can go there and download the white paper. I always want to leave a leave behind because I know people listen to podcasts and they're like, God, there was so much stuff there. And what was the takeaway? And I would love just any kind of tips. And I'm always looking for that kind of thing. I'm a podcast junkie and I listen to all these podcasts and I'm like, now, what was it that they said? And how can I get more information on that kind of thing? So I did want to throw that out there. But yeah, there's a white paper that really kind of has a lot of information in there about a lot of the things that we've talked about.
Okay. I have to bring this up because you said you're a podcast junkie.
Yeah.
I find women our age, because I'm in my 60s,
yeah,
don't listen to podcasts.
Oh my gosh, I do all the time.
So what is so great about podcasts? Tell me.
Yeah, well, first of all, I hate to say this, and I worked in media forever, right? And I worked and primarily the early start of my career was in news, not as a journalist, but I was always on the marketing side. But my responsibility was to promote the local newscasts. And you can't trust the media for anything anymore, right? So like mainstream media, it's just like, forget it. I just don't buy into it anymore. So I'm hungry for more detail. And so more long form journalism. So I listen to a lot of political podcasts. I like a lot of geopolitics. I like conspiracy stuff. I like true crime. Obviously, if I travel to either go see my daughter or if I'm driving, my daughter's at Ole Miss. So it's about 6.5 hours from Knoxville. My son's at the University of Oklahoma, which is about 14 hours. I usually fly to see him. I don't really drive to see him, but even when I'm flying, I'll put on a podcast and it's like the time just goes. But like, I love Joe Rogan. I love the longer form podcasts, and I'll listen to them over several days because, like Rogan's 3 hours long, but I like the shorter ones too. But I think it's just because you get so many great stories, so many great personal stories, just like what we're talking. I mean, the most interesting people are people who aren't famous, to be honest.
I agree. And that's why I do this, because I want stories to be told. And so one lady I interviewed who is a podcaster, she calls it a party in your purse.
Yeah.
And
that's so true. That's great. I love it. You get on these podcasts and And some of them are like, they go deep into a lot of stuff. And the guests, obviously, a lot of the guests are very, very proficient in the specific topic or a field, or they're like masters of their field or what have you. And you can go down rabbit holes really quickly on some of this stuff too. But it is so fascinating. Like one of them was about AI and just artificial intelligence and the evolution of it and all this so forth. And it basically boiled down to that basically we could all just be living in a simulation right now. And I'm like, wow, this is just mind blowing. But it makes you think. It challenges you to think and think deeper than just the stuff that's being spoon fed to you all the time. And just you pick up so many great details and just nuances of conversations and things by just having more of a longer form opportunity to be able to listen to people have a conversation.
That's so awesome. I love that. You made me so happy.
Oh, good. That's great.
Lori, before we go, again, if they want to get your white page or reach out to you, they go to...
Yeah, so our website is cmoco.com. That's CMOCO.com. And to get the white paper, you go to cmoco.com/resources. And there's a white paper there that you can download. And obviously would love to hear from you. If you want to just email me at CEO@CMOCO, that works too.
That's a lot of C's.
I know, a lot of C's and a lot of M's and a lot of O's. I know. Like I said, if I had to do it all over again, I'm like, well, would I name it CMOCO? I don't know.
Before we go, you've covered so many amazing topics. What is it that you really, really want us to know?
Just that you can get through it. Just that you can really get through it. It's not easy. Again, I'm not going to really undermine some of the great blessings that I have. I had a very supportive family. I had a great job for many, many years. So I had great income for many years. I had a lot of things that a lot of other people don't have going through the same stuff that I went through. So I'm so blessed in that regard. But I do feel like if you just believe in yourself and if you have faith that you can get through it, and it's step by step. It's not year by year. It's literally step by step, hour by hour, day by day. And there's a solution to everything. It's just being, like you said, being consistent, believing in where you're going, and having a vision, having a plan. I think that's really the most important thing. I know people used to do vision boards and that type of thing, but it's like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And is that really where you want to go? And then be committed to that process.
You have said I had the good support and everything, but even with that, it's hard.
It's hard. It's very, very hard. I mean, it is very hard.
It is hard. And I love that you say step by step.
Mm-hmm.
We don't very often get to jump, but sometimes we take a leap of faith into something and it works out.
You're going to hope that it works out. I do. It was so interesting, and we'll wrap up, but I did say to my son just recently, like I was trying to explain to him like how sometimes I know that I was short patient, like I had short fuse, right? Like I know that there were times, and I regret it. Like obviously I was never a perfect mother, that's for sure. I think I did the very best that I could, and I tried to give my kids a really good and loving life and supportive life. And I do think I was there for them and always will be there for them. But there were times that I was short fused, and I was impatient. And I was trying to explain to him, like, look, I never had anybody else just to say, take you guys for 5 minutes just so I can have a break, just so I can take a breath and get my composure. It was like always having to deal with things in the moment. So I think for me, that's been the hardest part, is just not having necessarily somebody that you can just say, hey, take these kids for 5 minutes and let me just have a break so I can kind of collect myself. That has been hard for sure, but we've made it.
Yes. I love it. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Lori. I appreciate it. This has been so much fun, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to talk to you and your guests.
If you love this podcast, here's a big ask. Will you share with your friends and family, subscribe, give us a review, and a 5-star rating so that others looking to reinvent their lives will be able to get the help they're looking for? Thank you in advance.